everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. Today, I have Jack Vinichandra, the CEO of Saakuru Labs, here on the show. So, Jack, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
thanks
fun.
so much. I know this is going to be fun, and you're even making time to record between travels. And I know you just got to Dubai for Token, 2049, which I'm jealous. I wish I was there. That looks like it'll be a lot of fun, but
Yeah, it's still not too late. There's a lot of people coming over. I'm meeting with 65 people tomorrow, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Thanks for squeezing us in over here at Girl Gone Crypto. So, just to kick things off, like give us a high-level overview. What is Sakura Labs? Like what are you guys building? What problems are you addressing? Give us that high level, no one's ever heard of you type of explanation.
sure. Yeah, so what we do here is, I mean, the simplest way to explain this is that we are consumer-centric layer 2 protocol with zero transaction fee.
Mhm.
And what we also provide is a bunch of software that both users and businesses can use because we want to make things much simpler, right? That's why we make it consumer-centric. And what that really come down to this year, we're focusing on gaming, we're focusing on consumer level application, like for CRM, for restaurant, for retailers, fashion, and also we focus on education at the same time as well. But in general, our blockchain is general purpose, it's permission. And for those of you who don't know, we're actually in the part of the Oasis ecosystem, which is a Japanese gaming chain, right? Backed by SoftBank, Square Enix, Kega, but I mean, you name any big publication from Korea and Japan and some even in Europe, they're most likely part of this, right? And then
Wow.
the reason we went this route is because we have been in the space for some time now, and we run
Mhm.
into many different issues, right? UX has been one of those issues, and UX can be broken down in multiple things. One is gas fee.
Mhm.
I mean, the reason
Right.
we started this is because we were trying to work with a restaurant chain, and then they're like, "What is this gas fee?" Right? And
Yep.
and then even if we can go down to much lower gas fee, it's actually still not really affordable because if you think about countries in Southeast Asia like Indonesia, Philippines, where they make
Mhm.
like $2-3 a month on average, right? If you have
Yeah.
to even pay like 0.1 cents, but you have
Mhm.
to ask them to go first do on ramp, which
Mm.
typically takes about $50 minimum, right? That's like basically
Yeah.
25% of that income. So it just become inaccessible. And that's why we really emphasize on the no transaction fee, which yeah, that's definitely the core piece of the UX.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's how we kind of got started. But gaming, we have pretty deep root in gaming.
Mhm.
We operate a guild as well. So we have about 1,000 members guild.
Mhm.
We hosted about 110 esports tournament last year in LATAM. So
Wow,
very
nice.
deep into gaming, and that's why about 70% of the focus this year with onboarding about 40 to 70 projects would be in gaming.
Wow. Yeah, I noticed you guys were going really deep into the gaming kind of like narrative and sector of the space. And one of the things that I think is really interesting, I'd love to have you touch on a little bit more, is that these kind of like new Web3 users, like how do we onboard them and get them more comfortable in the space? And
Mhm.
one of the things that you guys are doing is allowing people to earn crypto through gaming, which I love that because that's kind of like close to like my story. Not that I was crypto gaming, but I got my first cryptos by like earning it through a crypto DApp. And so
Yeah.
when like that was a real gateway for me into crypto years ago. And
Mm.
so like seeing that as like an on ramp for people, I think is really cool. So if someone's kind of new to Web3 and they're like, oh, I could play some games and like earn crypto, like what does that look like for them?
So because of the no gas fee
Hmm.
nature of our chain, right? So when you have a games deploy on our chain, what you can do is you can welcome user with their first mint. So
Hmm.
if you're a completely Web2 person, you come in. Typically these days you can use either account abstraction or you can use many different tools for like even just normal social login, right? So you don't have to
Right.
even care about the wallet. So that's one part. Then when you come in, because there's no gas fee, you can actually just go mint your NFT for the first time, go through the experience, and they'll be like, oh, this is actually simple. I didn't need to have to buy anything first.
Right.
Because the moment you ask someone to buy something first, they'll be like, okay,
They're
maybe
like,
I'll try
eh.
later, right?
Yeah.
So then, and as you go through the game, when you get to a certain point, then you can earn. Again, typically they'll ask you to claim, right? Because let's
Hmm.
say if you play a game in Polygon, the developers don't want to actually pay for the gas fee, so they ask people to go and claim. And when you claim, you have to spend gas fee. For our case, there's also no gas fee there. It's completely seamless. So in a way, you'll be playing a Web3 game without knowing it's a Web3 game, because it really doesn't matter.
Nice.
It's just that you're actually earning something out of it.
Right. And like that's one of the things I think is most exciting about the crypto gaming sector is this ability to not only earn, but like to actually own your assets. Like people will spend literally hours a day playing like Hearthstone or something and have these huge accounts and their account isn't actually worth anything. They can't sell it. They can't do anything with it. And like
Mhm.
that's one of the things I think is most exciting that hopefully gamers start to realize and be like, oh, I can come over here and actually own some of these assets. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's to me, ownership is one side, right? And then
hmm
having a way to UGC is going to be the future, and we have already
yeah.
seen it with Roblox and Minecraft and all these other games, right? And I think it'll be even more important in Web3. But in this case, there's going to be more. I mean, profit share going to be much more transparent, right?
hmm
The way you measure the level of contribution will be much more transparent as well. And the way I see things is that Web3 really open up many ways to contribute. And generally, I see it, there's like 4 different ways, right? So one, if you're a player, then you spend time in the game so they can be matched with someone else, right? So you provide the matching experience. The second way is if the game allow you to, let's say, create a map, right? So let's say let's say it's a Mario Kart game type,
hmm
and you can go and create a track. Now, if the model works similar to like a YouTube
Mm.
account, right? So if you go and create a map, if a lot of people use your map, then you can potentially earn, for example. And then the third type could be streamers. And people always ask about this, how do streamers get paid? So typically
Mhm.
you have to pay a streamer to come stream and promote your game. But in this case, there could be a direct hire. So let's say they go stream and they bring in, let's say, I don't know, 100,000 people. That could
Mhm.
be a way to measure because they are help bringing people into the ecosystem all the time. So there's a way to figure out how much of that contribution actually bring like more gamers, could be more content creator, could be even LP provider, right? So provide liquidity for people to exit as well. So
Mhm.
there's many different ways to do this, and I feel like uh, just by making it seamless with no gas fee, making it safer. Another thing that
Mhm.
I did not mention is that our chain is permission. So
Mm.
a, a few studio asked me last week while I was in Hong Kong, like, how do we prevent people getting scammed?
Mm.
And we have a solution for that as well. We have permission, so our community and our sales also kind of whitelist all these projects before they can deploy smart contract. For example, we also have the fastest chain in terms of block time, so you can provide much
Yeah.
better multiplayer experience, right? Because if you know anything about how network works, if our brain, whenever the lag is more than 120 milliseconds, it thinks that there's an issue. There's a lag, right? So and
Uh-huh.
because of that, most of the blockchain, including Arbitrum Nova, which has
Mhm.
block time of 250 milliseconds, is not fast enough for multiplayer if it's fully on chain. So we're able to support this kind of, I would say, still kind of niche kind of game, because if
Right.
you most games are not going to be fully on chain, but there are definitely many people trying. So when a game called Chain Eternal, they literally got rid of the database, everything we've written onto our chain, and they still
Wow.
want to provide multiplayer experience so that people can interact with each other in real time. So we'll see how that work out.
So I know we've talked a bit about the or we just were chatting about like the user, like kind of like these Web3 users that are coming in, which, you know, as we're in the beginning of this bull run, I mean, who knows how crazy
Mhm.
and how quickly that can all happen. But you guys are also have a really big component of what you're doing over on more of like the developer side. And I know you were just giving the example of even like working with the restaurant chain and like having these businesses and having these things, you know, being able to use Sakura Labs in that way. And I know you guys have like a
Yep,
whole developer suite. Can you touch on a little bit more of like the B2B kind of side of things that you guys are
sure.
building?
Yeah, so on the B2B side, again, there are many businesses that want to come in.
Mhm.
First, they don't know what to do, right? So we're
Right.
having a strategy.
Yes.
Second, once we figure out what they want to do, they typically get struggle with first, they can't find developers that are like affordable,
hmm
right? Second, they don't have the right tools to use. And because I mean, technically everything, there's so much open source software out there that you can use, but like which one do you use? So when people
Right.
come to our chain, we typically provide them with all these tools that they can use. So for example, one of the games called Crypto Run, which I think just went live on Android maybe a couple of days ago
Nice.
on our chains. So they were able to integrate the wallet functionally within a day, right? And when I say
Wow.
wallet functionally, it's not just connecting the wallet, literally full wallet. That app itself became a full wallet because the software that we use, we provide pretty much all the components. They think 60, 70 different screens. Typical
Wow.
UI, right? You I mean receiving, sending, and dealing with detecting scam. We basically provide the full suite so that you don't have to worry about security and you just focus on the business logic and the gaming logic itself.
Nice. And so, in terms of like what that looks like, I mean, what kinds of businesses and companies are coming? I know that
Mhm.
you gave a few examples before, but can you kind of expand on that? Like, what's kind of your ideal audience, if you will, for that? Like, who were you guys kind of hoping come to Sakura?
It, yeah, sure. It could be any types, right? But again, we focus mainly, I think, gonna be three areas. But I
Mm-hmm.
think we already, yeah, it's quite wide. So the game studio, of course, that's the obvious part, right? So they can deploy on our chain, they can use our wallet, SDK, and then gamification API, for example. Then we have, let's say a fashion brand, right? So if they want to start accepting an NFT gating, for example. So typically what that looks like is if they have a mobile app, they can, of course, embed our wallet SDK. So now that enable the wallet, the storage of NFT, also CK verification technology that we have. And then on top of that, they can also mint on top on our blockchain as well. So again, provide the gasless experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because imagine the case where something like NFT ticketing, typically when you
Right.
purchase the ticket, now what if you want to share that with your friend? You have to
Mm-hmm.
spend more money to send the ticket over to your friend, right?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So for our case, you can just send without having to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the experience in Web2, I mean, majority of use cases, they're actually not bad. They're actually very, very good, right?
That's
And
fair.
there's and that's why people like, okay, now you introduce Web3 component and you make it more
Mm-hmm.
complicated and actually
Yep.
cost more to do anything. So that's the things that we're trying to solve, right? So I mean, fashion brand, we work with education sector as well. So for example, certification,
Mm-hmm.
right? The country like in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of fraud. People didn't go to
Mm.
university and
Interesting.
they would and then they report that they did anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, as an employer, you don't really check that far, right? You're not going to call university, hey, did this person really graduate? And if this
Right.
person graduated, what course did this person take? So I think there's a way to really streamline all this process so that university or any employers can issue what we call really the badges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like that you graduate with this degree, maybe you volunteer here, maybe
Mm-hmm.
attend certain conference, and all these add up and become your identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and I think in the future it will come down to all these publicly verifiable identity that people can do without and I mean while preserving privacy at the same time as well.
Right.
It's
I
kind of
know
on
that's
a
always
need
the
to know
piece of
basis.
it, right? Yeah, because
Yeah,
you want to be careful who gets access to that information, but
yeah.
having that verifiable is definitely an interesting piece of things. Yeah. So I know that we haven't talked yet about the SKR token. So that's something that I
Mhm.
want to touch on as well. Can you just kind of walk us through? I know that it's like a bit of a dual purpose with being both governance and utility. And so if you could kind of walk through a little bit of like the tokenomics, I noticed you guys have like a burn component and then just the role that it plays in the Sakura
Sure.
ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah, so since you mentioned about how like the developer side of things, I'm going to start there, right? So again,
Okay.
like you said, there's two sides, one which is the governance token and one is utility.
Hmm.
And in terms of how the value flow back from our ecosystem to the token, it can be broken down into two categories. One which is the demand models, and the other one is a burning model. So the demand model largely will come first from the developer side.
Mm.
So the way it works is that when developers come to our chain, right? So even though there's no gas fee for users, we actually have gas fee. Otherwise, there's still going to be security issue in some way,
Right.
right? So the way it works here is that it's a delegate model. So we start from enforcing that there's no gas fee for user. We absorbing that. Now, as developer come and deploy their application and they start utilizing it and start writing all these transactions on chain, we do charge them per about
Mm-hmm.
$100 per 1 million transaction.
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
Now, that is the pay-per-use model. What they can also do is to purchase the SKR token and stake it. And when you stake, you
Mm.
earn expirable credit every month.
Mm.
So let's say you have about, I think, if I remember the math correctly, if you have about, let's say 300,000 tokens, that translates to 30 million transactions per month, which is enough for majority of the
It's
applications,
a lot, yeah.
right? But there, I believe me, there's actually a few that will blow past that in about 2 days.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, good for
Yeah,
them.
there's some really high volume transaction application coming on our chain very
Wow,
soon.
it's amazing.
So that's the kind of the staking model, right? So stake and you get the expirable credits, and as they keep growing, they will need more, so they'll be pushing more and more tokens and then
Mhm.
stake. So that's how it get taken out from the circulation. The second side is the actually sorry, there's actually another part that hasn't really been touched on in the light paper. It's
Mm.
actually more on the user side, right? Because user can also go and provide liquidity into to the DEX and then stake the LP token. They will also earn like potentially airdrops of in terms of token NFT in the future as
Okay,
well. So that's also the demand side, right? So
got
as
it.
we have more and more games and projects coming to our ecosystem, we also have it as a channel for distributing their tokens as well and NFT. So
Mm.
that would be why people might also want to buy when they're not developers. Then on the
Okay.
burning side, we have three layers. So the first layer is the DeFi layer. So again, when there's no gas fee on our chain, this means there's no revenue for the protocol, right? So we
Mm.
have to also find ways to find revenue somehow. So this model is very similar to Immutable, where if
Okay.
you go and do all these DeFi transactions, there's a small fee coming back to us. So it's
Right.
0.005% will come to us as a revenue for the protocol. And because we co-designed the DEX called Taffy with our market maker and also another partner, we also own
Mhm.
25% of the team token for Taffy. And
Okay.
that will also translate to be the revenue for us. And collectively, with this revenue, we use to go buy back and burn the token,
Mm.
right?
Got it. Okay.
Of course, we have two other layers. We have the governance layer and we have the protection layer as well. So both of those with basically the service we provide, that also translates to become revenue, and we can do
Mhm.
buy back and burn. And like you said, we also have all these developer suite, which
Mhm.
also generate revenue for us. 10% of the profit also will be used to buy back and burn.
Got it. Okay. Great. No, that's exciting, especially since you guys already have some big partnerships coming up and people wanting to kind of come on board. Now, you guys have been building for a while. How long have you guys been in the space now? It's been a
It's
few years.
coming up almost 3 years now.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
okay.
gonna be 3 years in about 2 months.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, the people who stuck through the bear market, we're finally here, right? We're
I
coming
know,
on the
right?
other end.
Yeah,
So, something that I always just find really interesting is like why a company or crypto project chooses its name. And we were chatting about this just a little bit before we hopped on the recording. So, what does Sakura mean? I just thought that was really fun if you could share that.
yeah, sure. So Sakura is a Japanese word. So there's two meanings. So one is means circle, like the
Hmm.
shape, and the second part is a group of people with the same interest. Like for example,
Hmm.
tennis to Sakura is a tennis club,
Oh, I
right?
see. Okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
this resonated with us really well because we want to emphasize on community, and the second part is activities, right? Because the whole point of having a blockchain is that it's not just for specific types of things to do only like DeFi, GameFi. We want to use it for everything else as well, right? That's why we also focus on education, on retail.
Hmm.
I mean, we have project working on tokenizing cows and chickens. So we really cover anything. And I feel like for mainstream adoption to really happen, there has
Hmm.
to be a lot more of the day-to-day application people can use,
Hmm.
right? How do we turn all this Web2 application, add some Web3 components to it and make it a better experience, right? So I think a lot of that, I think it will take at least another like 5 to 10 years for most businesses really understand how to bring Web3 into what they do right now.
Hmm.
And I don't think there's a really like a mad rush or anything like that. I think as
Right.
people really understand the technology, when the technology become more advanced and there's more and more use cases, it will really help people imagine on what they can do to help provide a better experience.
So we've chatted through like what you guys have been building like over the last 3 years, what you've been working on, what's kind of currently out there and deployed. But also, I'm just curious, like what's coming next for you guys? What is the team currently like working on and excited about? What's kind of like what can people expect to see coming next from you guys?
Sure. I mean, the most immediate thing that coming up is going to be our IDO, right? So
Mhm.
that will be early May, and
Okay.
I think the date will be announced soon ish, like maybe within this week actually,
Okay.
right? So that's one thing. The second thing that I'm very excited about is that we are launching so Taffy Dex, right? So
Mhm.
we have our blockchain has been live on mainnet for about 1 year and 2 months now, but we never had a DeFi protocol on our chain. So this
Mhm.
is actually one very exciting thing because as there's more and more project on our chain, they have their own token, and there will be a lot more value accruing onto our chain because of that, right? Right now, the way it works is that everything get bridged over to L1, and
Mhm.
then all the trading activities, everything happen there. It's inconvenient for user. Also, it's kind of take away the total value locked away from our chain, right? So that is one that's very exciting, and I think that will go live in like 2 or 3 days.
Mhm.
The second component that we'll have is what I call the flagship platform on the gaming side. It's called Playground. So it's developed by Worlds Beyond. And the way it works is it's very similar to Portal, but what they have is that they have really good technology as well. So they I would call them like Epic of Web3 in a way, right?
Nice.
Because they have their own engine, they have their own tools
Mm.
and everything, and people can develop, and they also become a launcher for those other games as well. I mean, they have some crazy traction on social media
Yeah.
recently, like on Twitter. I think I saw the number, like in terms of number of views of all the posts, it was like 647 billion views or something on Twitter. It
Wow.
was insane. Yeah, these were like across all the basically all the
Wow.
posts that mentioning
That's like
the
Elon
dollar
level right
beyond.
there.
It's actually more than Elon actually.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was crazy. Hopefully Elon doesn't shut it down.
Yeah, he gets jealous. He's like, no, I have to be the king. No.
Yeah, so that will help drive a lot of traffic because the way it work with that platform is that because we have no gas fee, right?
Hmm.
So when they do payout and that governance token and earning, it will come on our chain. So even though they might be helping Sui or Aptos or any
Hmm.
other ecosystem launch games, it will actually benefit us as well,
Hmm.
right? So that's the kind of value we want to provide. We have another partner that I can't talk about yet, but they're working
Hmm.
on tracking statistics for gamers. And
Mm.
because of the gasless nature, because I mean the cost is so low on our chain, they might also capture all these activities on other chains and write on our chain as well. So
Wow.
we'll
Okay.
essentially it will become a data layer in a way.
Right? Like that's what's interesting. Build the tech and then people get creative with how they like stuff that you
Yeah.
might not have even necessarily foreseen. But companies be like, oh, I can do this. I can plug in here. It's pretty interesting actually how creative the space is.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad that people actually figured all this out.
Right. So, if someone is interested in learning more about Sakuru and they want to check you guys out, maybe join the community, get involved. I know you guys have a really active community on like Twitter and Telegram. Like, where's the next best place for them to go to learn more? Should they go to sakura.com or where should they go next?
Yeah, I would say go to saakuru.com. Again, with double A. It's double
Hmm.
A KURU.com. And from there, you'll find a link to go to our what we call the Saakuru sauce. I mean, my team like to call it like the sauce of truth. So that's how we came up with the name. So that's why you find that's basically our light paper, also documentation for developers as well. So you can see how I mean what a developer can do, right? I mean, I think we simplify the light paper to the level that most people can understand, I hope. And if not, please let us know. And another place as well is follow our Twitter channel
Mhm.
because we have pretty frequent update. And we have tons of partners that we never announced, so we gonna be announced quite a few going forward and get more involved on the AMA as well.
Awesome. Well, Jack, thank you so much again for taking the time to come on the show today and just really give us this like overview look of Sakura and what you guys are building. And so just again, I just really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.